Yeah, what's up everyone? We're back on the channel. Today is another reaction video. I'm not sure where I'm gonna upload a gaming video, probably soon though, but it's mainly gonna be reactions for now. Today we are reacting to a video about Club Penguin. I'm not gonna lie, I probably wasn't there when Club Penguin was like in its prime. However, I did play a little bit of Club Penguin like when I was a little bit younger. I don't know if it was like a remade version or like I don't know. I don't know if it was like a remade version or whatever, but I still played it and I loved it. And then I would get so deep into it to the point where like in 5th grade, I would straight up listen to the music while I did my work. I'm not even lying. I'm not even lying. Specifically, it would be the dojo music. I would listen to the dojo, like the car dojo thing. I would listen to that music while I did my work in 5th grade. I remember that. And then I would also get a plush. I had a plush of Club Penguin, like a Club Penguin. It was like a pizza chef. I don't know. It was like a plush. I used to have it. I lost it a long time ago. Low-key miss, bro. What else? I also used to check out like books from the library, like at my elementary school. Like I used to check out like Club Penguin books. I don't know if it was like I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it was comic books or like if it was like straight up books, but it was about Club Penguin. That's all I remember. And then they remade it into like a mobile version. But anyways, this is about the remade version, the revival. Shout out my brother 808 with another crazy reaction video. The failed revival of Club Penguin. Let's get it, dude. Here we go.
Club Penguin is one of the most loved and popular games of the early 2000s era. In fact, it wasn't really just a game, it was a virtual hangout spot where millions of people would spend their free time socializing with others online. However,
what was the pets called? Like Puffles?
Despite that massive success,
right?
Club Penguin eventually shut down, leaving millions of its players disappointed. So when a group of the game's original developers announced that they were making a new game that was essentially supposed to replace Club Penguin, you'd expect people to be excited.
Is that it? No. I'm thinking of the mobile version. They came out with the mobile version like a couple years ago, and they like shut it down.
In reality, it was quite the opposite. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the internet saw a rise in online social sites where people could chat and interact with others online. This eventually led to a little flash game called Experimental Penguins, the earliest prototype of what would soon become Club Penguin. The prototype was created by Canadian game developer Lance Priebe, and there wasn't really a whole lot going on in the game at first. You could choose your name, join a little room, chat with others, and click to walk around. There was also these early penguin designs, but that was really about all there was at first. Interestingly, it didn't even start as a social game. The original idea was supposed to be a multiplayer snowball war game with thousands of concurrent players on screen. I'm not gonna lie, this did sound pretty cool, but over time it would develop into more of a chat-based styled game that we would later see. Now, Experimental Penguins was surprisingly successful at first. It was actually so successful that they had to shut down the entire game due to its server cost. Luckily, this would not be the end though, because later in 2003, the new and improved Penguin Chat 2 would eventually release. The new version
Oh, they added, yeah, this is the igloos.
Introduced the updated penguin designs we all know and love. They added emotes, different rooms you could walk in, and the ability to throw snowballs.
That's where all the parties would be.
Later in 2005, Penguin Chat 3 had then released, adding new rooms, music, character customization, and new chat features, until it eventually evolved into what we now know as Club Penguin. Man. In August 2005, 15,000 users from Penguin Chat were invited into the new beta test, with Club Penguin having a full release on October 24th, 2005. By this point, Club Penguin had gone from a simple chat experiment into a fully developed online world. At launch, you had places like the town, which was the central hub for the island, alongside the coffee shop, the dock, and of course the mysterious iceberg, which we'll get into later. Now, at the time, not everything was fully functional at first. Most of the places in the game were simply just hangout spots, but the island was constantly expanding with new features and places being added over time.
I remember like in quarantine, I had the Club Penguin town as like my wallpaper for some reason. I don't know why.
Map, you would find various mini games where you could earn coins that could be used to customize your penguins and also buy stuff for your own personal igloo to show how superior you were. As I mentioned before at the start, Club Penguin only had about 15,000 players when it started in 2005. Within roughly 6 months, the game had now surpassed over 1 million total players, with that number exponentially growing over time. Because the developers intended on the game's target audience being primarily kids and teenagers, Club Penguin's main source of revenue came from a $5 monthly subscription model. This was because the developers believed that advertisements shouldn't be shown to children who might not fully understand what they're seeing. Looking at the—
I'm not gonna lie, can they like, is it possible for Disney to revive Club Penguin somehow, like some way with a new game or something? I feel like it's not that possible, just because I feel like if they did revive it, it would die off kind of quickly. Like I feel like not much people would care about it, you know what I mean? Like I feel like it would be hyped up, but it would just like die off super like super fast.
Gaming industry today, ethics like that are not very common anymore, so that's pretty impressive at the time. And yeah, even then the game would still become very successful. The game was actually so successful that they had to rebuild the game from scratch 3 different times in 2006 just because the servers were struggling to handle the massive player count. For the next few years, the game would continue to grow and evolve rapidly. By 2007, Club Penguin's player count had gone from 1 million to 12 million active players within only 1 year. At the time, the company had grown to over 100 employees, yet they were still struggling to keep up by themselves. Now, this raised a few questions about the future of Club Penguin. How do they keep growing the company? How do they expand into other countries and languages? How can they expand into the world of merchandise and toys? And how are they going to keep the game alive or even online at all? What they needed was a partner who could help with those problems, and that partner would be Disney. On August 1st, 2007,
they
the Walt
still
Disney
making like the Puffle pins in Disneyland. I know that because all the Disney moms go to there.
Company officially acquired Club Penguin, which would completely change the game forever. Club Penguin was initially purchased for $350 million with an additional $350 million in bonuses if they were able to reach specific growth targets within a couple years. Now the question is, was Disney actually able to help Club Penguin expand and become bigger? Absolutely. Club Penguin was able to grow faster than ever. The development team grew, the updates became larger and more ambitious. We got new mini games, new features, spin-off games, all kinds of collabs. The introduction of Puffles, which were like these little pets you can have. Actually, wait, that was before Disney bought out Club Penguin, but now you could get them in real life. And yeah,
the Puffles, they were goated.
You get the point. Club Penguin had evolved from an already popular game to a full-blown mainstream phenomenon. The game hit over 30 million registered accounts by the end of that year, and by the end of 2013, that number was over 200 million.
200
they not
million.
only had the Club Penguin website, but also merchandise, books.
Yeah, I had. Yes. No, wait. I had one of these. I would check these out at the library. I'm not even, bro. Which one was it? It was this one. I remember the jetpack. What? Yeah, it was this one. The scientist. That one. I remember they had the captain too. A couple of these I used to check out at the library in elementary school.
It was over 200 million. They not only had the Club Penguin website, but also merchandise.
They don't have the chef in here. I had a pizza chef as my plush.
Books, card games, even Club Penguin on television. By this point, Club Penguin wasn't even really just a game anymore. It had become a global brand. Now on paper, this shit was going amazing. Unfortunately though, things would slowly start to take a turn. At some point, we started to see heavier monetization in the game, with more and more items being locked behind memberships. On top of that, to make matters even worse, every corner of the game now had some sort of Disney collab in it. Some of the stuff was pretty...
Like, they were like overdoing it in the mobile version. They would have like a bunch of like Disney stuff, but...
Cool, don't get me wrong, but at some point it kind of felt like the game was just becoming a big advertisement. While the game was still fun and none of these were like game ruining changes, people were starting to notice a shift from what was originally a passion project into a corporate product with the goal of milking out as much money as they could. And
so they overdid like the Disney stuff instead of making Club Penguin its own like brand basically.
And unfortunately, this would be where Club Penguin started to see the effects of its own downfall. By the early 2010s, technology was starting to improve quickly. Smartphones were becoming common household items, which led to the rise of mobile gaming. Instead of kids and teenagers having to play on their family computers, now they could just do it straight from their phones. We had games like Angry Birds, Temple Run, Subway Surfers, Clash of Clans, even Minecraft Pocket Edition, which were all available at any time.
I'm not gonna lie, this might be crazy to say, I didn't really play Temple Run as much as a kid.
In addition to this, apps like YouTube, Instagram, and other social media apps were starting to pop up and gain massive popularity. With all this entertainment coming straight from your phone, people were starting to spend less time on computers and television.
Is that Murph from Practical Jokers? How bald is that guy?
More towards mobile entertainment. As you may have guessed, this would have a huge effect on Club Penguin's player count, causing it to decrease over time. However, if you want to help make sure my sub count doesn't decrease, then feel free to drop a sub. Club Penguin just could not keep up. By 2015, Club Penguin was drastically going downhill. That same year, Disney had laid off 28 of its employees from the game's original studio, specifically because of the game's declining popularity. If you were a little German or Russian kid coming home from school to play Club Penguin, they said "F you," because later in September they would completely shut down Club Penguin servers in both Russia and Germany. By the end of 2016, Club Penguin's monthly visitors dropped from 7.4 million in July all the way down to 5.6 million in December. And most importantly to Disney, revenue was also going downhill. Ironically, despite all the heavy monetization and mainstream success, they were not able to hit those growth targets that I mentioned earlier, meaning that the original founders never received the additional $350 million bonus. At that point, it was clear that Club Penguin was slowly dying, and And on January 30th, 2017, Disney made it official with an announcement stating that Club Penguin would soon be shutting down for good. A few months later, on March 30th, 2017, the final day of Club Penguin being online, tens of thousands of players had shown up to say one last goodbye. Despite the game's overall decline, even then, hashtag
this is low-key sad. Everyone's just saying goodbye. I'm scared. Love hearts.
RIP Club Penguin was trending, and people had to wait in 300-person queues just to be able to get in the lobby. In the final moments before the servers went offline, players gathered around the iceberg that I mentioned earlier, and with one last nod to the community, the developers added a final Easter egg, allowing everyone to jump together so they could finally tip the iceberg after years of players theorizing about it. Then finally, at 12 a.m., after nearly 12 years and over 330 million players who visited the island, the Club Penguin servers had officially shut down. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that behind the scenes, Club Penguin's developers were actually working on a mobile spin-off called Club Penguin Island.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this did not last long. This didn't really last long. I remember playing this though.
Club Penguin Island was designed to completely replace the...
It was cool at first. Like, I liked it at first, but then it just died off really quickly.
The original game, and it was released just as the original game had shut down. It was rebuilt from the ground up for mobile devices, and instead of using the 2D flash game art style from the original, it now has a fully 3D world that you could fully explore. On the surface, it seemed like it was supposed to be a modernized version of Club Penguin, which sounds great, but unfortunately, it was ass. Part of what made the original Club Penguin, was the fact that the whole game's purpose was to socialize with others. The original game did have quests and minigames to do, but you could play a lot of them with other people. For example, you had sled racing and car jitsu, which were some of the most fun and
peak. Car jitsu peak, soundtrack peak. You know what I mean? I already said it before. I used to listen to this music in 5th grade. When on my Chromebook, bro.
Popular things to do in Club Penguin. Club Penguin Island, on the other hand, had little to no challenges or quests that you could do with others. 90% of the game was based on solo progression, with very little socialization actually happening. And that was if there was any players online at all. The most players Club Penguin Island has probably ever had at once was probably when the YouTuber Quackity did a raid on the game because of how bad it was.
Oh my gosh, that just brought back a memory. I remember that.
Strange is that it seems like the developers were actually very passionate about creating the game. So if I had to guess, it's more than likely Disney who was the reason behind why the game was so terrible, and of course loading it with microtransactions as well. All in all, in 2018, less than a year after the game's launch, Club Penguin Island was shut down as well, and this time it wasn't just one game. The entire Club Penguin brand and universe was now completely gone. As you may have guessed, Club Penguin fans were not very happy. Millions of people grew up playing this game, and within 1 year, a major part of people's childhood had just completely vanished. However though, it wasn't very long until fans started recreating their own versions of Club Penguin. Some of the most popular of these remakes were New Club Penguin, Club Penguin Online, and Club Penguin Rewritten, which apparently had over 10 million registered accounts at its peak. These remakes had pretty much everything that the original had as well. You could talk to strangers, explore the old map, play mini games, customize your igloo, and pretty much everything else that you could think of, which at the time was great, but it definitely did not come without its own issues. The first issue was that these remakes were not ran by multi-billionaire dollar companies, and instead ran by random people who may or may not be trustworthy. The moderation in these remakes was not always the best, and in some cases these games had very little or even no moderation at all, which was probably not the best idea.
Strip club igloo, pimps needed, strippers needed.
What?
It's awful.
Who wants to?
It's awful, the things that go on there.
Brother, on Club Penguin,
Disney wouldn't want that property being used like this.
There would also be corrupt owners who would exploit and take advantage of their own employees and players, even being involved with some other kinds of CP in some cases. We also had employees who would threaten to leak people's personal information. In 2018, with Club Penguin Rewritten, they suffered a data breach that exposed 1.7 million people's accounts with info containing things like emails, usernames, passwords, and even IP addresses. And eventually, Disney had finally stepped in and began shutting down these fan-made remakes due to both copyright infringement and also the harmful nature of some of these servers. Club Penguin remakes
we really can't have anything.
Still exist today, with some of them actually still doing really good, but they operate in a constant gray area, always being at risk of shutting down. However, recently, there has been one last attempt at reviving Club Penguin's legacy. On November 7th, 2022, a trailer was uploaded to YouTube for a new game called Parrot World. Parrot World is a sequel.
Hell no. Who is playing Parrot World?
/ spiritual successor to Club Penguin, created by several
this is not my goat. This is not my goat.
Original developers, with Club Penguin's original creator even being involved. From the start, there was a good amount of hype for the game. In the comments for the trailer, you got people saying things like, "I really hope this blows up more. Club Penguin was a huge piece of my childhood. While it won't replace it, I hope this has the same charm and I hope it succeeds." Finally, after a few years, something that is related to Club Penguin emerged, and it's made by official Club Penguin developers. Thank you so kindly for reviving my childhood. Within a couple weeks, the first official Parrot World testing phase would finally go live. Players were now able to join and test the game, and at first it was honestly promising. After loading in the game, you spawn on this island very similar to Club Penguin, and right off the bat, I mean, it looks beautiful. It's a 3D world with a click to walk mechanic just like in Club Penguin. There's several locations to explore, a few mini games to play, and for a first beta test, it honestly had a pretty solid start. Unfortunately though, after that, the game almost immediately died off. Once people stopped playing, the island started to feel empty, which is not something you'd want in a game meant for socialization. Even though the game is still being worked on to this day, there's been very little progress at all since the game has been released in beta.
Bro, what? This game is still working on today? I feel like y'all should just shut it down.
Since the beginning, we've seen no major changes to the map, no new major locations, no new minigames. In fact, the only minigames available since launch weren't even original. They were pre-made asset games that the developers bought and used as placeholders. While there has been some minor changes in monthly community meetups that happened for a while, really not much has changed since the first beta release. And it honestly seems like the public opinion is pretty much the same as well. Parrot World is legit, but it's honestly pretty boring. Nobody is ever on when there isn't a scheduled meetup except for the bot players. The minigames are pretty bland compared to Club Penguin, and even Club Penguin Island had more to do than Parrot World does at the moment. Despite all the criticism, the developers haven't abandoned the project yet. In fact, they've actually been listening. Recently on the official Parrot World YouTube channel, Polo Field, who's pretty much the face of Parrot World, mentioned plans to completely rebuild the game from the ground up, calling it Parrot World 2.0. He mentions ideas such as a world building system where you can create, share, and explore player-made worlds, new minigames that are
honestly, it doesn't sound like that bad of an idea. It's just that it's gonna get killed off so fast though. That's just what my concern is.
Fun and have substance to them, and even changing the core gameplay loop to be based on some sort of card game mechanic.
Yo, hop on Parrot World, bro.
Now in my opinion, on paper this does sound promising, but I still think the game has a few fundamental problems. First of all, the original Club Penguin had released all the way back in the early 2000s, back when talking to strangers in chat rooms was probably about the most interesting thing you could do on the internet. Nowadays there's just a lot more to do online. If you want to play multiplayer games or socialize with others, now you got games like Roblox, Minecraft servers, and VR chat. Outside
there's just I feel like Club Penguin, that kind of game is just not, it's obviously not around anymore. Like those kind of games aren't popular anymore.
Gaming, you even had websites
unless you count Roblox, but Roblox also includes gaming,
like Omegle, where you can chat with strangers on video, or now even Discord, which is where most teenagers communicate now. All of these,
yeah, but they also, I don't want.
Platforms accomplish what Club Penguin originally did, just on a way bigger scale.
VR chat is not safe either.
That's kind of what Parrot World is having to compete against. However, I do think the game still has hope. Honestly, the idea for Parrot World is still pretty cool, and there's obviously demand for a new official Club Penguin styled game. They could try competing with games like Roblox and Minecraft servers, with more complex minigames constantly being added. The problem is that I'd assume game development is probably not that easy, and competing with already existing multi-billionaire dollar company,
yeah, but that's a David Bazooka,
is probably not going to be an easy task. On the flip side though, they could actually lean more into the social aspects of the game. This might be a little far-fetched, but I mean, imagine if Parrot World or a game like Club Penguin had voice chat. Would it be the safest for kids?
What do you think, 808?
Probably not. And of course, they would need some spectacular moderation, probably some sort of ID verification too. This might be
yeah, Roblox did the same thing, and
terrible idea, but I actually think something like that could even be an interesting evolution of Club Penguin's legacy that grows from a kids game into a nostalgic social experience that people can enjoy together. On top of,
I'm not gonna lie, I still like the design. They look cute.
That simply adding more stuff to do and more cooperative gameplay would help make the game feel a lot less empty. Even though most of us who played Club Penguin back in the day are now grown adults, there's something about Club Penguin that just sticks. What made the game so great wasn't just the cosmetics and mini games, it was mostly the fact that you got to have a shared experience with others online, whether it was with friends or even strangers. Parrot World is a game that I do see potential in, and I'll leave a link to their official YouTube channel down below in case anyone wants to stay up to date with the project. But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. If you're new,
well, yeah, that's it, man. Honestly, I wish they could bring back Club Penguin somehow, but that's just not really possible, you know. But yeah, man, that's it.